Welcome,
Alrighty.
everybody.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us today for Lunch with Lucy. My name is Kate Remillard, and I'm on the marketing team with VHT Studios, and I'm happy to be here today as your MC. I just want to go through a couple of items before we get started. I need to mention that all of you are muted. If you have a question for our panelist, please just add that to the Q&A box on your screen anytime, and we will probably get to that at the end of the session or as we go along. And we'll also announce the 5 winners of a signed book from our guest, Jo Rand. And so with that, I'm happy to introduce the woman herself, Lucy Edwards. Here she is.
Hello, everybody. It's fun to be here. I always look forward to our lunch with Lucy. So thank you so much for joining us. We have a special guest today, Jo Rand, and Jo is Executive Director of a Broker Public Portal and Chief Creative Officer of Howard Hanna Rand Realty. And Jo and I, we go back many, many years, and such a pleasure to work with you and your company, and your agents are amazing. And just to be part of your marketing strategy, it's such an honor and such pleasure. So Jo, just few words about yourself and special about your new title and new direction.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to see you. We've done a lot of stand-ups together, usually at events for my company where you would come to, you were so gracious to sponsor in some cases, and you've done a lot of good work with a lot of our agents with their luxury marketing. My name is Jo Rand. I'm like you said, I'm the Chief Creative Officer of Howard Hanna Rand Realty in New York and New Jersey. I'm also the Executive Director of the Broker Public Portal. The Broker Public Portal is a nonprofit industry consortium that is dedicated to improving the consumer experience, principally the consumer search experience through our partnership with HomeSnap, which is the one major portal, home search tool, both an app and on the web, that does not rely on broker advertising. So it's an experience, it's an advertising-free experience where, and also a great collaborative tool for agents to work with their clients.
That is fabulous. So since we are on that topic, I would like to just ask you a couple questions. One, and I think it's very important, and when I was picking brain of our agents and asking what do you think would be so interesting, is the Google exposure. And I understand that HomeSnap is also very big on that. So what's your take on how should the agent present themselves and have the Google search about their brand and their name? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the brand, right?
Yeah, on a very fundamental level, I think the first thing that every agent should do, and whether they do this with HomeSnap, this is a feature of what's called HomeSnap Pro Plus. HomeSnap Pro is the set of agent tools that agents get for free from their MLS when their MLS aligns with and partners with HomeSnap. But then Pro Plus is a premium service which comes with the Google My Business page that you get, which when someone Googles you, you're on the right-hand side of the Google search will come up your business page, which has your reviews, which there's also a really nice tool for encouraging and curating reviews. But listen, you got to control what people see when they look you up online. And that means on a very at a very base level, getting the Google My Business page set up, but also, making sure that you've put up enough content out there that your name shows up with it. Like, people that make listing videos, those listing videos should be going on social media sites that are high, that are ranked high on Google, so that, make sure you have, if you're taking a lot of videos, you got to make sure you have a YouTube page, and that YouTube page is constantly refreshed with content, because that content tends to rise up to the top of Google, and that can be really effective for your marketing.
Well, and speaking of videos, and whenever I was invited to participate in your events, I'm big on videos. So I was talking about walkthrough videos for properties, videos for agents, and preferably all of them. In my opinion, it's not even preferably, it's a must. They should be all professional videos, and you should invest in yourself and in your brand, in your name, and in your future. Everything you do today for your listing or for yourself, it's an investment in tomorrow. That's in my opinion, and you always agreed.
Every piece of video that you put up, every piece of video you create is now content that fills up a library. And the more content you create, the more search engine optimization you get, the more, or the more substance you have. Somebody who's got 30 listing videos on their YouTube channel is going to come across to a potential seller as somebody who has a lot of listings, because they not only do they have 30 listing videos, if you have just 10 listing videos, I think at least you've got a library that they'll see a whole screen fill up with your videos, and they can go watch a couple. And they don't have to be 20 minutes long. They could be 2 or 3 minutes long. I mean, that's actually, ideally they should be 2 to 3 minutes long and no longer than that. That they're just content that every time you're selling your listing, you're also selling yourself. And that's the best marketing. What drives me crazy about agents is the extent to which they want to market themselves by talking about themselves. And I just find that to be, there's too much of a tell, don't show at that if you want effective persuasion is about showing, not telling. And so the best way for me to impress upon you that I'm a really good listing agent is for you to go look at my listing videos that are professionally done, that look great, that show me in a good light, or testimonial videos that show me in a good light, that, that don't have to be professional. You don't have to have your clients make professional videos for you, but having a client, on your phone say, listen, could you do a video testimonial for me that I could put on my YouTube page? That's great content. And that's content where you're not saying how great you are, but you're showing how great you are with either testimonials from other people or from, the quality of the work that you put into marketing your listings.
That is great. That is important. And I totally agree with you that if it's a testimonial, you don't want to drag professional crew to probably take the video like that if they're not comfortable in front of the camera. So a 30-second testimonial, in my opinion, is just good enough. But the rest of the marketing should be professional, and you always encourage your agents to have someone like our company, VHT Studios, to take care of their listings. And marketing, as well as marketing budget, is very important, and the business plan. And I think we all know that business plan is important, but not everyone has really followed the rules. So what would you like to share about business plan and marketing budget being part of it?
Well, let's talk about marketing budget. I mean, I think that you have to spend money to make money, right? And we all know that. And to me, the biggest mistake too many agents make is they think about the marketing of the listing as being solely about that you're trying to sell. That what are you putting into that listing? Well, it's only a $400,000 listing. I don't want to spend $1,000 on marketing a $400,000 listing because of the commission rate and everything else. When it all comes down to it, it's not enough left. But the point is, every piece of that marketing is about your professional marketing of yourself as well. I came up with a line, I think it's in one of the books. I can never remember now whether I wrote it in a book or I cut it from the final draft. I hope it's in the book because I like this line, which is that I think that every agent, what they should be thinking about with regards to their fundamental listing marketing is we are in a situation now where disruption is rampant. There are people that are disrupting us from a technology perspective. There are people that are trying to disrupt the commission structure of how we get paid, as well as just attacking the commission dollar as well. And, to me, on a very fundamental level, the best thing we could do would be to continue to improve the work that we do for our clients. Like you are resistant to disruption if you do great work for your clients. And one of the easiest ways to do great work for your clients is do a great job with the marketing of their listing. And so the thing that I think that every agent should do is say, well, look at what you do for your luxury listings. Like everybody's got like a special marketing program for their $1 million and up listings. And that marketing program is generally something that is like $500. They have a budget of $500 for that. Maybe it's a little bit more, and sometimes it depends on the price point. But my argument would be that that's the plan. That luxury marketing campaign is what you should do for a $75,000 co-op and what you should do for a $150,000 cape. Like the point is the marketing we do for the luxury homes is the marketing that as an industry, we should be doing for every home, because it's not that expensive in comparison to the money that you make on a listing side.
And I'll interrupt you. That's what you said. Luxury marketing treatment for every listing.
For
And
every
that's
listing.
amazing.
Yeah, and I, you know, listen, I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, because you are a luxury marketing company and you do the video and you do all the other bells and whistles, and you know, my point is always like either spend the money or become an expert in doing it. So you can become an expert in video. You can become an expert. You can take the time and really learn how to take pictures, and that's fine. You don't have to spend the money if you want to spend the time to invest in it. But I always think if I was a practicing agent, I would hire a company like yours and I would just say, you know what, I got a listing. Let me send in the photographers. I'll pay the money for it. And I never want to have to pick up a camera and learn how to do it myself. It's hard enough for me to figure out how to look halfway decent on these videos, which it's taken me 6 months of like almost daily Zoom calls to like, you should see how many lights I have facing me right now. I'm going to start spitzing with all the heat that's being generated by these lights, and actually, and having like a background. This is my attic, which is a finished attic space, but I finally have it looking nice enough that I don't have to put up the green screen with the logo behind me. But you can learn that. And you know, the other thing about it, the thing I always tell agents, and I tell this to consumers, is that the biggest tell of the care and concern and diligence that an agent, any agent, has about their work is what they do with their listing marketing. Because the listing marketing is the one thing that they really control. It's the one thing where there is a broad differentiation of people that will invest either their time or their money in getting it done. There are enormous differences in attention to detail and the quality of the work that gets done and the attention to the work that gets done. That, to me, you show me an agent who's got really great listing marketing and I'll show you a great agent. And when I tell clients when they come to me, they're saying, how do we choose an agent? I say, look at their listings. They're like, well, I'm on the buy side. I'm like, I don't care if you're on the buy side or not. An agent who has that kind of diligence and that kind of attention to detail on their listings is probably also somebody that has that same work ethic when it comes to buyers. It's like, you don't have to drink the whole bowl of soup. You take one sip of the soup, you know what the soup tastes like. I can look at an agent, I can look at one of their listings and I can tell you whether that agent is putting in the work that they need to do to take care of their clients. I can look at one listing, and that's the point. Every one of your listings should be the kind of thing where if someone were to see it, they would say, wow, I got to hire that person. She's fantastic.
I agree with you. I always say that you are actually interviewed at your open house. So when you have an open house and you have 25 people coming over, I guarantee that someone is looking at you for a totally different purpose. They would like to hire you, but first they want to see how you present yourself, how you represent your seller in a different situation, whether they want you to be part of their team. And that's what it's all about. So I totally agree with you. It's very important. Again, it's your brand, it's your name, it's your future. It's the way you invest in your tomorrow. So I'm with you on the same page. And I will never forget how once I was at one of your presentations and you were talking to everyone about professional photography, and you had a slide that, thank God it wasn't your agent, you got it from the MLS, yeah. But it was a photo of the bedroom with the guy sleeping on top of his bed with his boots on. And he said, I do not want to ever see my agents have a photo like that on our website.
I mean, there's a million of those that you can pull up of like these horrible listing photos. And you know what, what we laugh at it, we laugh at the occasional picture. Someone has a picture of a cat in the photo, or they haven't learned how to take a picture of the bathroom without it looking gross and stuff like that. Like, we laugh about it, but the fact is, like, that's kind of the job. Like, that's the job. The job is, a big part of the job is how you market listings and the care you take in marketing your listings and every piece of content you create reflecting back on you. I just think people sometimes they rush through it, and I hear the reasons. Like, sometimes people say, well, it's, the market's so hot right now, I don't have to do professional photography. I just put it on the market and it sells. And I'm like, well, so you're not creating that library by not doing that. And secondly, you're getting into bad habits. And third, you're sending a message to the seller and to everybody else that like, okay, we don't really have to do a whole lot to sell your house. Well, why does the seller need you then? What are you actually bringing to the table? What value are you bringing? Sometimes the value we bring is almost like a placebo. Like, I don't necessarily know whether great marketing actually sells a listing. I think it does. I think it marginally impacts. I think it certainly impacts the price you get on the listing in some ways. I think it helps both get the listing sold and to get the price on the listing. The same way I think staging does the same thing. Staging helps do all of that stuff. It's a marginal improvement. I don't think we can ever overstate it that like, all right, great marketing takes a house that this house doesn't sell versus this house sells. I think everything's about percentages. You have to increase the percentage. You make it a little bit more likely, get the price a little bit marginally higher. And all those things really are important. And I don't like the message that you ever send to somebody saying, well, we don't need to do any of that stuff because it's going to sell really quickly. I don't think you ever want to give somebody in any walk of life the idea that your expertise and your professionalism is not necessary in order to effectuate the outcome they want. I don't want the doctor. I go to the doctor and I was like, oh, this is a piece of cake. Don't worry about it. I don't even have to look at you to know how to, I want them to look at me. That's part of the thing. Like, I want to take my shirt off and I want you to look at me. And I want stethoscope. I have no idea if those stethoscopes actually work. I think I don't know what they learned from them. Like, it seems silly. I've listened to some on the other side. I don't see what they're getting out of it, but I want them to do it. I want them to be in a lab coat and I want them to do the stethoscope because that makes me feel better about what they're doing for me. And I think that they're, like saying, well, I'm not going to do a video of this listing because I know it's going to sell really quick is I think the wrong message.
Exactly. And consistency is very important. And that is, again, coming back to branding. So absolutely. Kate, you wanted to ask something. I saw that.
Yeah. Just wondering if you have any thoughts or advice on how marketing strategy has changed this year with COVID and all the craziness that's going on.
Oh, if anything, someone just posted in the chat room about how, the 2020, what they taught them. If anything, it no question, it became much more important. Video became much more important. The virtual showings became a staple. I'm in New York and New Jersey, which in April and May in New York, we couldn't even show homes. You couldn't show a house. And yet we still sold about 40% as many. Our sales were only down about 40% in April and May compared to last year. Why was that? Well, some of it was agents cheating and some showing houses when they weren't supposed to. I don't know anything about that. But a lot of it was the fact that agents got very creative with the virtual showings and what they were doing, that they were, they did the kind of marketing where someone looked at it and felt comfortable enough that they could do a drive-by or do a walk-by or walk around the outside and say, okay, I have a good feel for what this house is like. You could tell a lot. Videos and pictures can be deceptive. We've all had that experience both in real estate and dating. That videos and pictures can not tell the whole story, but you go to, but if you give me pictures of an interior, you give me a video of the interior, and then I walk it on the outside, I got a pretty good sense of the shape of this, the size, the dimensions, things like that. The one concern I always have is that it's not as big as I want it to be. I've had that happen with rental homes and stuff on the Airbnb. It looks great in the pictures, and then you come see it's like a little tiny thing like that you get past that. That's what I think people were doing. I think they were looking at the pictures and looking at the video and then doing a walk by and getting enough of a feel that they were buying the house literally sight unseen on the inside. So yeah, I think it's more important than ever. I think that I'm never ever going to say, and I always bristle when someone talks about silver linings out of a experience like what we've gone through for the last 8 months. There's 250,000 people dead. There's no silver lining on this that we take anything out of it. But what's been a very interesting and I think positive development within the industry and the way that the industry has responded is that we advanced a lot of the technology learning curve that we were going to go through, which was going to take about 5 years, compressed to about 2 months. You know, the fact that, you know, how many people are watching this that are also watching on Facebook Live, that we've gotten to the point that, you know, I know how to set the lighting and things like that on these things. And I can, you know, I've got 4 different pieces of equipment that I've bought in the last 3 months to be able to do these things, that agents, you know, are doing virtual meetings and stuff like that. Like that, to me, it's good to see people doing that. I think it's a positive for the industry. And the fact that agents were able to get themselves up to speed on what can be a little intimidating, this kind of technology, I think that's a good thing. And so that, I think 2020 obviously highlighted the importance of being digitally proficient, you know, with a lot of different tools.
You know, Joe, I would like to mention, I actually interviewed by one of your agents, Sherry Porter, and that interview is on my page. It's vht.com/learn. And that interview took place in April or the beginning of May. And that's exactly what we were talking about, is virtual showings. And Sherry always invested in great marketing. She had floor plans and videos and virtual staging. So when COVID happened, she was prepared. She was ready, regardless of what's going on with other agents. She was ready with virtual showings right there and then. All she had to invest in is a good camera. So I had that interview with her. So maybe when you have a chance, please take a look.
That'd be great. And I'm catching up with the chat room, and somebody had a question because I've thrown out a number of $500 for marketing. You know, every market is different. And, you know, my point would be that I think we should be spending more money on the average listing than we do. And also when I was throwing out $500, to me, I was talking about content creation. I wasn't talking about distributional marketing or targeted outreach. I was talking about, you know, because I know that you can get on VHT for $500, you can get a pretty good package of digital photography, maybe a video, floor plans, things like that. I mean, I know that because I've just seen your price sheet. And so to me, the idea would be that, you know, on a fundamental level, I want to have every one of my listings have content. You know, what I do to market the listing on top of that is separate. But in terms of creating, collateral, photography, video, floor plans, things like that. That was the price I was referring to. And I think you can get a decent work done at that price point in most markets, but, you know, and not for every home. I mean, some homes there'll be a lot more. I've also been told in the chat room that I have a, this right here, that's a little bit crooked. So this one's correct. That one's supposed to be like that. That light is that's illuminating a wall there. But this one, yes, it's crooked. I don't know how that happened. That's, thank you, Frank Bolke, for pointing that out.
Well, you see, they're paying attention. That's very important.
They're watching. Well, they've heard me reference my Zoom aptitude now. So now they're trying to pick apart my display sense, my design sense. At some point, you'll see there'll be a little dog that might crawl up on the couch that will show you that it's a live photo. It's a live look in.
So how would you incorporate the new product of HomeSnap? How would you incorporate that in marketing strategy?
I mean, well, here's the thing about HomeSnap is on a very fundamental level, what HomeSnap does is it allows you to have marketing that in a space that is as safe as your own website. Because on HomeSnap, there's no competitive advertising on your listing. And if you invite and connect with a client on HomeSnap, they will never see anybody else's contact information except yours because they're registered as your buyer. So it is a completely safe space from that perspective. So when you're working with buyers, you say, hey, use this. Don't use one of these other portals because HomeSnap gives you as good an experience as anybody else does from the consumer app perspective, but you're not going to face them, you know, getting pulled in other directions. But then from an affirmative marketing, and it's great marketing. The listings look great on HomeSnap. If you invest in photography, the photography shows up really beautifully on it. They also have something called HomeSnap Stories, which are like Instagram stories where you can take your video and it will attach to your listing, and it will stay on for as long as the listing is up. It's not deleted after 24 hours. And it's a great sort of way for you to integrate video into the presentation of the home. And then they also have, on top of the HomeSnap itself, they facilitate listing marketing. So if you're doing listing marketing, if you want to advertise the home on Facebook, if you want to do a boost on Facebook, you want to boost it on Instagram, on Google, on Waze. Waze is a really underrated channel for this. They make it really easy for you to do your advertising on those platforms. You just press a couple of buttons. You don't have to learn the intricacies, and they get good pricing because they're doing bulk advertising on those venues, and they partner with them. So, I look at marketing, Lucy, as two things. I look at the part that like VHT does so well, and that is so important, the content creation. And that's a big part of it. And then the other part of it is, what do you do with it once you create it? How are you distributing it? Are you doing both advertising on, I always call it advertising wide and narrow, big and small, that you want to go wide distribution, so it's as many places as possible, but then you also want to narrowly target the potential buyer for that home. So you don't necessarily, you don't necessarily need to be advertising, think of it like HomeSnap. HomeSnap is very wide. I mean, anybody using HomeSnap, they're going to do a search, they're going to come across that listing. But if you're going to advertise on Facebook, you want to be advertising for the specific targeted buyer that you're looking for. And that's what you want to invest the money in. You don't have to invest in distributional marketing as much because a lot of it's done for you by virtue of the portals and your own website and the web and whatnot.
And HomeSnap is it's integrated in all MLSs throughout the country, right?
That's my job. My job is to get in every MLS in the country. We have about a little over 1 million, maybe 1.1, 1.2 million agents that are on the platform through their MLSs, but not every MLS is on the platform. And, we do our business model at HomeSnap, but their business model at HomeSnap is to, they go through the MLS. So the MLS pays for it. It's really affordable from the perspective of what you get for it. And then the agents and the brokers all get it for free. So if you don't have HomeSnap in your market, that's because your MLS hasn't partnered with HomeSnap yet. And that's something I will say, if anybody is not who's watching this is in a non-HomeSnap market, if you just email me, joe@joerand.com, just email me, joe@joerand.com, and let me know that you want them to be, we're working our way through every MLS in the country. But if people, want to put something at the top of my priority list, they can let me know about that.
Take advantage of it, everybody. Joe is giving you his personal email, and he replies right away. So I know that for a fact.
I don't reply right away. Don't promise people I reply right away. I may have replied to you once or twice right away. You caught me at the right moment, but people know me enough to know that like my email response rate goes up and down.
Any other questions, or where are we on time?
I gotta say, who's ever doing you make me look very quotable in the chat. They've got these, nice quotes. Was that you, Kate, or was that somebody else?
No, that's our producer, Mike, in the background.
Mike, he put some good quotes. I like this. You show me an agent that has great listing marketing, I'll show you a great agent. I think that's somebody make sure you book on. I like that. That's a good quote. I don't think I've said it quite in that way before.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up. This time went super fast, but we've already gone through the half hour. So we just want to thank you, Joe, for spending some time with us today. It was super interesting. And I think we all learned a ton. And then let me take a minute to announce the winners of the signed copies of your book. We have 5 winners.
Thank you, Joe, for the books. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
The books are free, but the fact that I have to actually put them in the mail because we're not staffed up for this right now. So the big gift is that I'm actually going to get an envelope and put the thing in the envelope and send it out. So you have to get me those addresses to mail it out to people. That's going to be as hard as writing the book was for me.
No, Joe, I'm going to stop by at your Nanoet office.
Oh, you're going to pick them up for me?
I'll do that, and I'll pick them up at your headquarters.
Well, you know what? You're being so nice to do that. We'll have the 5 signed hard copies, but I'll tell you what else I'll do. I'm going to put right now in the chat room. If people go to that link, joerand.com/free, they can get a digital copy. So 5 people will get the hard copy signed, but anybody who's on this, who's watching right now, go ahead and get a free copy of How to Be a Great Real Estate Agent. That's this book. This book right here. You can get a copy of this book. This is with a hard copy I'm signing, and then you can get a digital copy. You know, the ebook version. You can download it for free. For those of you who are maybe watching on Facebook and you can't see the chat room, go to joerand.com/free. joerand.com/free, and I'm going to leave that up for about half an hour, and then I'm going to take it down because you know I got to at some point I have to sell books. But if you so feel free to go get them. And the only thing it's tough to give away is the audio. And the audiobook, I did the audiobook myself, and it took a lot of work and it was hard. So if you're an audiobook person, you know, pull up your credits for Audible and just pick it up for yourself on Audible.
That's
Love
what I
it.
would do. Thank you.
Okay. And the winners are, if I can pronounce their names, there's one that's incredibly difficult. Ooh, Peggy with Baird and Warner. I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name because it's that difficult, but it's Peggy K with Baird and Warner, Shannon Lang, Sherry Godsey, Angela Nelson, and Brian Lomott. So congrats to you guys, and thank you for attending today. We really appreciate it. One more thing before we go, we are going to plug our next show, which is on December 2nd, and we're going to be talking about referrals with some great agents with Douglas Elliman throughout the country, actually, Olga, Edmund, and Ivan. So it'll be really great. Go to vht.com/learn to sign up for that. With that, we'll let you go.
Thank you, everybody. Joe, thank you. You were amazing as always.
Oh, Lucy, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you all for watching. Thanks all for being here. Thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
Thank you, VHT Studios guy, for making me so quotable. Was that Mike? Is that what you said, Mike?
Producer Mike.
Mike, thank you.
Awesome.
Producer Mike.
Thank you all for having me. It was a real pleasure. It was a fun being here.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go straighten out that shade right now. Bye-bye.
You do that. Get ready for the next Zoom.